It is no secret that Perth Glory have seen no glory in recent seasons. 9th, 12th, 9th and 12th again, and they're back on track for another 12th place finish this season. So today I'll be replacing David Zrillich on Football Manager 24. As we all know, FM25 has been cancelled and SI can't release database update. So I've turned to the Steam Workshop and downloaded FM Inside's February 2025 database. Now, I'm sure if you were to download this and play in the Prem or La Liga, you'd run into no problem. All up-to-date transfers and new youngsters added into the game. However, less relevant leagues like the A-League are not perfect. For example, Perth Glory's star boy Jalen Pearman is a free agent. Goalkeeper. This man has already scored and assisted in the A-League at age 18. He's also recently agreed to join QPR at the end of his contract. We also don't have Lockie Wales as he's still in Korea with Gyeongnam. We also have no Kwa Ngo. He just straight up doesn't exist in this database. And Tas Mordekutas is still playing in Canada with Valor. Also, no Luke Amos, but I'm not surprised by that as he's only just recently signed with Glory. Also, just a quick side note, due to the limitations of the pre-game editor, the actual in-game date is always going to be about a year behind. So, our first season is the 23-24 season rather than the 24-25 season. Also, a rather big limitation is there's no Auckland, probably for the best. But with all that aside, let's get into season number 1 of Glory Back to Glory. So for season number 1, we'll be playing this unique asymmetric 5-2-3, maybe 4-3-3 or 3-4-3, maybe even 3-3-2-2. This is definitely a will get more goals than you tactic. Now for some new additions to the squad. Let's just hope they turn out better than some this season. We start with the free signing of Brazilian striker Waverton to join Taggart up top. Next up we bring in Brandon Barello, also on a free. Told you this database isn't perfect. Third and final transfer of our opening window is Italian midfielder Stefano Beltrame, most recently playing in Portugal for Maritimo. Now, if you didn't know, the A-League has some rather strange and strict transfer and registration rules. Transfer-wise, you cannot buy players from other clubs in the league. No exchanging money, just frees when the player's out of contract. However, loans are permitted, but only for under 23 players. When it comes to registration, there's a strict 50,000 Australian dollars a week wage cap. You are allowed 2 players on designated contracts which don't count towards that 50,000 a week cap. To accommodate for these new signings, a couple players couldn't make the registration. David Williams, Hamzawi, Gomulka, Bar, Milusinic, Ayoma, Warland, Faisal, and Jared Carluccio. As it turns out, if a player isn't registered for the A-League, they are released. But oh well, I don't think those players were going to help us improve on our real life results anyway. So we're lining up with Sale in goal, Marcelo right centre back, Okamoto central centre back, and Mizao left centre back. Then we've got Risden as our right wing back, then Barello's on the left. Our 2 centre mids are Brandon O'Neill and Nicholas Pennington. O'Neill is more of a defensive anchor, while Pennington's going to get up there, get in the box, make more opportunities. Up in our front 3, Beltrame's in the more attacking midfield creative role, while we've got Waverton and Taggart both as pretty standard strikers, just there to finish the opportunities. We start our A-League campaign at HBF Park hosting the Newcastle Jets. We have a brilliant start to the game as 3 minutes in, Risden whips in a ball from the right and Waverton slots it in. 1-0 to Glory. No, referees disallowed it. Then again, in the 22nd minute, Risden puts in a ball from the right, Pennington flicks it on, and Beltrame finishes it. Finally, 1-0 to Glory. Oh, no, referees disallowed this one too. 2 minutes later, the ball falls to Pennington on the edge, who smashes it into the back of the net. Can't disallow that one, ref. The game finishes 1-0 to Glory. Next up, we make the 5,000 kilometre journey to New Zealand to play the Wellington Phoenix. Goals from Waverton and Marcella would help us see out a 3-1 win. We followed that up with a 2-1 win against the Central Coast Mariners. This would see us go top after 3 games. Next up, we go to Sydney to play the Western Sydney Wanderers. After an uneventful first half, a mistake at the back would lead to Marcus Antonsen taking the lead for Western Sydney. Coming into the 82nd minute, the ball gets played wide to Trent Osler, who puts in a great ball. It finds Adam Taggart, who slots it away comfortably, just for Sydney to go down the other end and put it in the net, winning the game 2-1. Things would go from bad to worse as 2 days later, Trent Osler would damage his cruciate ligaments, ending his season and further restricting our fullback options. Our final game of November would see us travel to Brisbane where a brilliant end-to-end game would see Brisbane get the final blow in the 90th minute, resulting in our second loss in a row. Coming into December, we hope to have a turn in form against last place Sydney FC. So sorry to hear that, Sydney.
He gets 5 big booms. Boom! 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 Boom!
5-1 in front of 19,000 Sydney fans. But hey, surely that was a fluke.
Boom! 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 Boom!
10-1 across 2 games. Just like in real life, right guys? Speaking of bad...
Take it when it goes your way, as here's a strike. Oh, would you believe it?
Yep, it hasn't got much better. Sales conceded 12 in 6 with an average rating of 6.5. So, when I saw that a certain Darren Randolph was available and interested, I knew nothing was going to stop me from bringing in the FIFA legend. The 13th of December would provide Glory fans with an early Christmas present, as the news that Darren Randolph was set to join the club. His kids better have also got an early Christmas present with that $12,750 a week he's earning. Randolph's first game would see a 3-1 win over Newcastle. However, not all good news, as Brandon Barello would twist his ankle, resulting in him being out for 4 weeks. Bit suspicious considering the time of year. However, this would see criminally underrated Joel Anasmo step up to fill his space. Next up, MacArthur Bulls travel to Perth, where we seal a 3-2 win containing a Darren Randolph assist. Then we end the year with a 1-1 draw against the Central Coast Mariners. My number one goal for the save is to bring home an Asian Champions League trophy to Perth. To do this, we'd need to win the regular season, which gives us the opportunity to try our luck in the extra preliminary round. We'd need to win that to put us into the second preliminary round, which we'd need to win to go to the playoff, which finally, if we won that, then we'd go to the group stage. On the other hand, if we win the Australia Cup, or I believe the final series, it's not very obvious, then we'd qualify for the Asian Confederation Cup group stage, which is pretty much Asia's Europa League. Then if we were to go on and win that, we'd skip the first 2 rounds of qualifying, putting us in the playoff. So that may be an easier route. Our year starts with wins against Melbourne Victory and Sydney FC. We also sign youngster Adrian Segicic to provide depth in the middle. Next up, we travel to Sydney to play the Western Sydney Wanderers, where we would end up going on to lose 3-2. It definitely didn't help that 17-year-old Daniel Adesina had to start in the absence of Adam Taggart, who was in Qatar with the Socceroos. The lack of depth up front was brought up to me by Brandon O'Neill, telling me I had to sign a striker. On the other hand, we had also received an offer too good to turn down from Kashima Antlers for Cameron Cook. This would see him move to Japan for $1.7 million plus a 50% sell-on clause. We then play MacArthur away, with Daniel Adesina having to start again while I sort out a new signing. In fairness to him, he did score and has actually been playing well when he was starting. His goal, plus 2 from Waverton, see us win 3-1. The last day of January would see former Glory man Nikita Rukavistia return home after a long career in Europe, most recently playing in Israel with Maccabi Haifa. Now, at this point, the sale of Cameron Cook wasn't confirmed quite yet, and registering Nikita would put us literally $50 over the salary cap. If Cook's transfer had just gone through 3 or 4 days earlier, we'd have no problem. But I've no intentions of unregistering Cook, therefore releasing him just days before his $2 million transfer. So this unfortunate timing would see Ollie Sale not make the cut, therefore releasing him. We just really need a hope that Randolph doesn't get hurt. Our first game with Nikita back would see us put another 5 past Melbourne City, also containing a penalty goal from our new signing. A couple days later, Brandon O'Neill would come to me telling me he was unhappy that I hadn't kept my promise. I'm pretty sure I did just sign a striker, so I have no idea what he's crying about. Like a week later, he realised Nikita was a striker and just then forgave me. Speaking of Nikita, I'm not saying that last name every time. Anyway, Nikita would score again in a 4-1 win over Adelaide United. Next up, we get our revenge over Brisbane, winning that game 5-3. We then lose 2-0 to Wellington. This was also the first game of the season in which we wouldn't manage to score. Game week 19 would give us the opportunity to go 6 points clear at the top of the table, given that results also went our way. However, in fact, results did not go our way. Neither did our game, as we lost 4-3 to Western United. With Western Sydney's win and the result in our game, the table would read: Perth Glory 40 points, Western United 40 points, and Western Sydney also 40 points. A three-way tie at the top of the table with 7 games left would mean we really needed to be on form if we wanted to win the league. Game week 20 would see Western play Western Sydney in a dominant 3-0 win for Sydney. We play Newcastle, where we managed to scrape a 2-1 win. Both us and Western Sydney confirm our finals qualification with those wins. Speaking of Western Sydney, they're who we're playing next. It's us who score first in this massive 6-pointer, as in the 19th minute, Adam Taggart finishes his chance 1v1 with the goalkeeper. However, Western Sydney's Juan Mata scores from range to equal it up. Only a minute later, Sydney take the lead with Marcus Antonsen. Coming into the second half, Waverton scores for us, once again levelling the game. Only 3 minutes later, Western Sydney take the lead again, making it 3-2. In the 56th minute, the ball would come into the box, finding Adam Taggart, who would level the game again for Glory. However, Sydney weren't holding back, as in the 70th minute, they take the lead again. However, we weren't giving up quite yet, as in the 79th minute, a corner comes into the back post, finding Waverton, who makes it 4-4. However, the game wasn't quite over yet, as in the 81st minute, Western Sydney would take the lead again, winning the game 5-4. This result would drop us to second, equal on points with Western United. To end March, we play away at Amy Park against Melbourne Victory, where we seal a 3-1 win, also containing this wonder goal from Brandon Borello. Unfortunately though, Taggart came off in the 56th minute with an injury. A 7-week injury. Lucky we did sign a backup. Guess Brandon O'Neill was right. In between games, we complete 2 pieces of business. Firstly, we agree to sign Anthony Pandazopoulos once his deal expires. More importantly though, we put pen to paper on a deal extending Darren Randolph's contract for an extra year. $7,000 a week less must mean Randolph's enjoying his time in WA. He proceeds to let in 6 as we lose 6-2 to Adelaide United. Nothing more will be said about that. The following week, we're back at Amy Park to play Melbourne City for the 3rd time this season, where we make up for last game with a 4-0 win. Out of all teams to play 3 times, we're pretty lucky it was them, with the brilliant 14-1 aggregate. With Western Sydney pulling away at the top of the table, the final 2 games would see us battle against Western United for 2nd place and a bye in the elimination round of the final series. We start off with a head-to-head against our 2nd place rivals, where it looks as if we're going to get the better of them until the 91st minute when Noah Bodic steals our 3 points, ending the game 1-1. Coming into the last match of the season, the table would see us 3rd, 1 point behind Western. Western are playing 9th place Melbourne City, while we get to play against last place Sydney FC. Points dropped by Western, and a win, or possibly even a draw for us, could see us climb up to 2nd on the final day. We start our match well with Brandon Borello taking the lead for us within 10 minutes. We then double our lead in the 34th minute with Waverton. Just before half-time, Pennington would find our 3rd goal. Checking in at half-time, Western is still level with Melbourne City, so if results stay like this, 2nd place is ours. In the 65th minute, Nikita would score our 4th, sealing our win. We just need to hope that Melbourne secured at least a point, which they did, going 1 step further with Jonathan Cohen in the 60th minute. 2nd place and a bye putting us into the semi-finals is a great way to end our first regular season campaign. But can we go 1 step further and try to qualify for the Confed Cup? With a 5-3 win against Adelaide, Brisbane is set to play us in the semi-finals. The first leg would have us travel to Queensland, hoping for a good start to the tie. Which indeed it was, as Beltrame takes the lead for Glory in the 7th minute. Only a minute later, Nikita doubles our lead. The remainder of the first half would see us score not 1, not 2, not 3, not even 4, but 5 more, making it 7-0 within 45 minutes. We slowed down in the second half, rotating our squad and putting Taggart on for the first time since his lengthy injury. Our rotation still saw us add 2 before the end, making the first leg score 9-0 to Glory. Surely we can't bottle the second leg. No, of course not. 4-2 in the second leg brings the aggregate to 11-4. As of recording this, we just lost 3-1 to them in real life, putting us down to 13th place. Who knew that we'd end up lower than last season? But this isn't real life, meaning we can actually win games. But could we win this game, the final against Western Sydney? Western Sydney were one of the teams we played 3 times throughout the season, and we're also the only team we couldn't even manage to get a point against. Just to make it a little bit harder, we're also playing away, at Western Sydney's home ground. We line up with only 2 changes to our squad. Kalen Majeka-Dunmi is starting over the injured Okamoto, and Nikita, not even going to attempt to say his last name, is starting over unfit Taggart. Yep, there's no point in me even trying with that one. Our first highlight sees Nikita head the ball over after a good ball from Risdon. The 32nd minute would see a corner whipped into Marcella, who would head the ball onto the post. The half ends 0-0, and I tell the team I'm happy with their performance. No changes were made, and we carry on with the second half. Nothing happens until the 76th minute, where an open Gersbach receives the ball, drives in, and takes the lead for Western Sydney. It looks like it may end a Sydney win. Until the 85th minute, where the ball finds Nikita at the back post, who finishes it off, levelling the game 1-1. It looks like we'll be going to extra time, until the 92nd minute, where we win a corner. Mizal floats it in, finding our set-piece weapon, Tomislav Marcella, who nods it in, surely winning the game for Glory. But the game wasn't over yet. From kickoff, Brilliante finds Antonsen, who finishes it off. Heartbreaking stuff, as we thought we just won the game. But hold on, VAR has a chance to save us here, which they do, disallowing the 94th minute equaliser. Time is running out for Sydney, which lucky enough for us, it does. The referee blows, ending the final 2-1 and confirming our first piece of silverware of the save. This also confirms our qualification for the Asian Confed Cup for next season. Signing of the season is given to Waverton after scoring 20 goals and averaging a 7.48 max rating. But will we be able to keep him for next season with his low $2.4 million release clause? Well, to find that out and see our Confed Cup run, make sure you like and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss season number 2 of bringing Glory back to glory.